Welcome back, everybody. We are the Alter Ego Brothers. I'm Nick, that's Andy, and today we've got our buddy and guest host, John.
Good wuthering to you all.
Please leave a like and comment. YouTube really does notice us more when you do that, so please help us out. Today, we are reviewing Wuthering Heights, a great movie to review over this Valentine's weekend. Or is it? Let's jump right into the reviews. So Wuthering Heights is a story about generational trauma, obsession, classism, racism, and social class conflict. Unfortunately, in Emerald Fennell's version, she just kind of threw all that stuff out the window and they just be fucking. They be fucking. I don't know how else to put it to you. They just be fucking. John, you go next. Actually, I didn't actually say my rating.
Yeah, I was like, do I do that part first? You just keep talking about fucking. I was like,
they be fucking. I gave this a 5 out of 10. They be fucking.
I gave this a 2 out of 10. I don't believe it's smart enough to be particularly compelling, and I don't think it's dumb enough to be fun.
I gave this a 10 out of 10. All right, let's get into the review, everybody.
Oh my God.
What on earth?
Dude, I loved this movie. I was into it. Everything about it just critically was just awesome. But I will say, Maddie just came home earlier today, having just seen it. She was so pissed at this movie. And I was like, what'd you score it? She's like, 7 out of 10. I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, everything else was great. I just fucking hated Catherine. Like,
oh my God.
Can I tell you what Lydia thought of it? She walked out in the middle of the movie after Heathcliff came back. The only reason she stayed for that long is because we were at Alamo Draft House and she was waiting for food that never showed up.
Oh,
shout out to Alamo Draft House.
So we got a 2, we got a 5, we got a 10.
This one's wild.
All right.
I was like, man, we're going to have another review where we're all 10 out of 10s again.
No. So on our tier list, it's a 5.6. I already did the math. Sorry, okay. I'm taking your actual job away from you, but I don't know if I can trust you anymore after this.
I just wanted it to be higher. Moving on.
So that puts it at a 5 on our tier list. None of us have read the book, by the way. I've done some research after the fact to find out some similarities and differences, but that's about it. Okay, so I guess let's just get into the story and start from there. You know you're in for some debauchery within the first 2 minutes. And no, if you're wondering, debauchery does not mean a group of young teenage men throwing loose change at stop signs in their town. It actually is the excessive indulgence of sensual pleasures. Fun fact. I thought that most of the story was very, very surface level. I had a lot of issues with what was being presented on screen versus what it wanted me to feel. And I just think it really had issues trying to overcome that fact. So the director, Emerald Fennell, said that this was not going to be a straight up adaptation of Wuthering Heights, but it seemed to be very much just like a personal goon fest, if I'm being honest. And even that wasn't that good.
Yeah, it very much felt like their fan fiction of Wuthering Heights almost. There was one scene where the character Isabella was describing Romeo and Juliet to Edgar. I believe his name was. Yeah. And that's what it felt like the writer was doing to us as the audience of Wuthering Heights. It just kept going, and this happened, and then this happened, but then this it felt very rushed. And it was interesting what she decided to summarize in like montage versus scenes where she's decides to slow down, it kind of felt like the wrong choice almost every time. We don't see her span at Edgar's place before they become engaged, so we don't know what their relationship is about. We don't see what Heathcliff's and Catherine's first romantic engagement was like. We only hear about it, we're only told about it. We're shown a montage of things, but then that's very like shorthand for like this happened, this happened, this happened, without fully seeing the actual character development.
All right, Andy, tell us why we're wrong.
So I do know enough about the actual story to know that the story revolves around nature versus culture, and that Wuthering Heights represents the nature and the Thrushcross Grange, I think it's called, is the culture. And Catherine essentially tries to be both. She chooses culture, but like her heart and soul still belongs over in nature. I do get the Romeo and Juliet tragedy that they pretty much ripped off, but they mentioned it early on and they definitely mimicked it. There was definitely a lot of symbolism there. I was kind of here for it. I kind of digged it. I liked this version of Romeo and Juliet, if you kind of think of it that way. Despite all these downfalls and like these changes of events that constantly happen that kind of bring people down, you end up finding out that it's really Catherine that is the one bringing everyone down with her. And she alludes to it throughout the entire storyline, saying like, if you do that, I'll kill myself. If you do that, I'll die. And she's essentially foreshadowing that she ends up killing herself in a way that you wouldn't expect nor ever see. But to me, it was very much a choice that she made at the end of the movie to kill herself. The only gripe I really had is I think we should have seen Heathcliff actually kill himself too, but I think we can presume that he does. And I did learn that he does in the actual storyline. I think overall, the movie does a really good job of balancing 1850s style romance along with the modern 2020s style romance. I really liked the culture versus nature, the real raw nature that you see over in Wuthering Heights, which is why you see so much sex scenes, which is why you see that one lady, I can't remember her name right now, chained up like a dog, while over on the other side is very cultured and very polite. I like the revenge scene, or not scene, but storyline and character arc of Heathcliff. I like that you start off liking the guy and feeling bad for him, and then all of a sudden you freaking hate the guy. Like, it just toys with your feelings, and they do that from the very beginning. It opens up with this black screen, and you just hear moans and groans, and it sounds like somebody having sex. And you're thinking, well, of course, that's what they're going to open up with. And then you're surprised that it's somebody on a noose, and it's like, what the heck? And it just toys with you from there. And then all of a sudden you got everybody dancing and cheering and celebrating in the crowd, and it's like, that's a weird feeling. And the whole thing was a weird feeling. That opening scene, I think, really resembled the rest of the storyline. It just made you feel really weird the whole time. Ultimately, it's a tragedy, so you're not supposed to feel great at the end. And I think they set out and accomplished what they were trying to do.
So I am going to push back on that assertion. This is not a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. Period.
To be fair, the movie does invite you to compare it to Romeo and Juliet with the description Isabella gives and based on how the movie plot shakes out. However, the reason I don't really think it works well on that front is because the actors for Heathcliff and Catherine are both either in their late 20s or early 30s, and the characters in the book are supposed to be 18-ish, 17, 19, around there. And the plot of this movie and the book subsequently feel a lot more like the melodrama isn't as easy to swallow from these like adults versus teenagers.
Right.
And the why and now of the movie, when Edgar moves in and Heathcliff is now like yearning for Catherine, it doesn't make a lot of sense why that didn't happen earlier, because there was a 10-year span of adulthood where they could have sorted out these feelings, or we could have seen how it developed between ages 8 and then late 20s, early 30s. That's a giant gap.
I totally get that argument too, because I think that's a criticism people have in general, is that these two should have been younger, and I totally get that. I don't think that them being older in this movie movie necessarily takes away from the storyline, but I can definitely understand that, okay, by this age, you probably should be a bit more mature than you are, because the way they're acting is more like teenagers than it is people in their 30s.
Let's dive into the characters themselves. We've talked a little bit about Catherine and Heathcliff up to this point, so let's talk some about side characters. I'm gonna say, at least this point, I don't think Nellie did anything wrong. I think she was one of the two adults in this movie, Edgar being the other, and I think she made completely solid choices for the situation that she was in. And the consequences were all because of Catherine and Heathcliff. Nellie was the only one trying to actually push anything forward.
One of the highlights for me was the performance from Alison Oliver for Isabella. She really gave it her all in every scene she was in, even the weirder ones, and that helped make it feel more alive. And the scene between her and Heathcliff, when Heathcliff goes in through her window, was the scene where I felt the most like sexual tension in the whole movie. And that also made it off-putting, because why was this scene where I'm getting that tension versus where it should have been between Catherine and Heathcliff more? And granted, it's because Heathcliff is definitely angrier during that scene, but there still should have been the yearning and frustration with Kat in the other scenes.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head with those two. So I'm actually going to talk about the two kids that we see right off the bat in the movie. Big ol' shout out to those two, because they did a fantastic job. And I know Owen Cooper, I think he's even won awards already for Adolescence. And I haven't seen that show yet, but I heard it's really good. I looked him up. He's only been in 4 other things before. And the girl, I gotta look up her name, Charlotte Mellington, she has nothing on IMDb. So it's like, is this her first big role in Hollywood? I was shocked by how little experience these two kids have, and yet they performed equally as well as any of the adults. So I just want to give a big shout out to those two, because without them doing a great job for how much screen time they had, the movie wouldn't have sold nearly as much if you had to suffer through some poor child acting. That was really, really good on their part.
One of the biggest differences within the movie versus the book is the casting of Jacob Elordi as Heathcliff. There are many instances where Heathcliff is described to have dark-colored skin and be presented as a different race than Kathy, which adds to the mix of why there is this weird toxic relationship. She got to name him. That doesn't quite make sense in the movie. And his father sells him, okay, whatever. But he was like a teenager, 10, whatever. He would have had a name. He would have known it. But there are these things that you miss out on because the director did choose to cast against what the book said. And that relationship then becomes this weird love story where it's just toxic and vengeful against each other. It's not star-crossed lovers. It's people who are just really, really pissed that they missed their opportunity to connect, and they're going to make the whole world burn for it.
The walls in Catherine's room at Edgar's estate would have been a good touch with the racism theme if Heathcliff were a person of color and Edgar was white, but for some reason that was swapped and now it's just kind of awkward there.
I just think that they announced that this wasn't going to be like the book, and it wasn't like the book, so I have nothing to complain.
Okay, moving away from the story and the characters, I want to talk about some things that I did actually enjoy. And one of those things was the art. I thought that the background scenes, I thought that everything that they were trying to do visually was really compelling and very fun to notice throughout the movie. So you have different paintings and painting colors in Edgar's house, where they start off very green, very royal, and then once Catherine moves in, you see that red start to bleed in everywhere. It's all over the floor. It starts going up the walls. It starts filling up the entire room. And then you've got her bedroom, which is all literal flesh tone. It's got veins and beauty marks and hairs and stuff all throughout it. And it just gives you this really uneasy feeling, but it was also really creative. And I think on the creative aspect, they really nailed a lot of what they were going for. It felt sort of like a music video, just extremely long.
I also dug the flesh-colored walls with the beauty marks on them. That was weird in a good way. And I did enjoy the wide shots of English countryside when they were walking around, just the windswept hills. Those were very pretty. However, the outside shots and the inside shots did clash for me. It could have been intentional decision by the director, but for me, it didn't really. It felt more messy than cohesive. The outside of Wuthering Heights is a good example of the outside of it almost looks like a Tim Burton movie, just with the way it's like almost cartoonish compared to the actual English countryside, which is just natural and beautiful.
So special effects wise, real quick, since you both touched on it, the wallpaper, that was freaky in a good way. And I really liked the line that he said, like, I chose the most beautiful color in the world, which is the color of her skin. So it's saying, to me, it's saying two things. It says, one, she's incredibly beautiful. And two, I think that's the racist aspect bleeding into this storyline that comes from the original book, because is it saying like white skin is the most beautiful color? Something to think about anyway. But beautiful landscapes, beautiful set designs, beautiful clothing, especially too. I mean, how many dresses did they have to create for this movie? I think bleeding in with cinematography, I don't know if we're going to talk about that separately, but I'll talk about it here anyway.
You always find a way to squeeze it in.
Always find a way. They did this really great job of making the world feel like you're there and you're a part of it. It made the world felt huge, but also at times really small. And so I just really, really dug how incredibly artistic everything was from top to bottom.
I do appreciate a big swing, if nothing else.
But as always, don't take our word for it. Let's see what the internet has to say.
Can we talk about music?
Yeah, I was gonna actually. I did want to talk about music.
You're right. I do have that. But we've already been going really long, so I was gonna.
That's all right.
All right, rapid fire. The music was really good. I did like the music. John.
The music clashed for me. It took me out of it whenever a song, like part of it was I heard about Charlie XCX doing the soundtrack for it, so I knew it was a big marketing push. But because it was a big marketing push, whenever the music came on, and since it's out of place with the time, it did kind of make it feel more like a product than a movie that I was watching, and that's took me out of it.
I thought the music set the tone for the movie immediately. I thought there were timbres in the music that really did fit the time, but there were also timbres that fit modern time too. And that was what I alluded to with the story, where it's like this mix of 1850s story romance versus 2020 story romance. So you got a lot of modernization to the music. And I thought the choice in the vocals being added to some of those songs too were actually welcomed here. I actually did like them, and I like the mix that sometimes you had a male vocalist and sometimes you had a female vocalist. I thought overall, like, the music had me going. I really liked it. Don't just take our word for it.
No, you don't get to say that. You're not the host. You can't say that. But as always, don't take our word for it. Let's see what the internet has to say. From an audience standpoint, they gave it a 7 out of 10. From the critic standpoint, they gave it a 6 out of 10.
God damn it.
So, very mid movie. Andy's, you gotta recalibrate or something, dude. You've been way off these last few reviews. I don't know what's going on.
I gave the Bone Zone a 10 out of 10.
I know that was the only one, but since then, well, and Iron Lung, but all the other two movies that we reviewed, way off.
There's way better boning in the Bone Zone than there was in Wuthering Heights.
But I will say this has been a little unfair, right? And we want to be fair, don't we, Andy?
No, bring it on.
No, I think you're going to want us to be fair on this one, okay?
No, I don't.
Because in your corner, I'm going to throw the one, the only.
Oh, boy.
Gen X Jeff.
That's the most fair review we could possibly have. I'm not shocked because Margot Robbie's in it. So, of course, Gen X Jeff is going to go and watch this one. That makes sense. The actors were beautiful in this one. I'm sure he makes a comment.
She was
whatever
so
Gen X
hot.
Jeff.
I'm sure he makes a comment.
All right, here we go. Amazing costumes, art direction, sexy, yes!
There it is. I told you. I know this guy. I read him like a book.
Jeff gave this a 9 out of 10.
Let's fucking go, Jeff.
Gen X reporting in, wow, this one really surprised me. As a 50-year-old male who got the Cliff Notes back in high school and skipped the book, I was shocked to love this film. Beautiful, artistic, abstract set designs, brilliant costumes, breathtaking landscapes, great cinematography, and super sexy actors that knock it out of the park.
Twice, he doubled down on it.
This takes the #1 slot on my best films of 2026 so far. Crazy sexy, but edited with zero female nudity. Why? Female nudity would have made this a 10 out of 10. Highly recommended for this Valentine's Day. Maybe leave grandma at home though, lol. 9 out of 10, well done, bravo.
God damn it, Jeff. I hate that I know you too fucking well, man.
And you align more with that guy than you do us, buddy.
Hey, hell yeah, I do. Fair is fair.
To be fair, I had some friends who we went with too who also liked the movie more than we did. So you're not
Oh,
alone.
now you mention it.
Any last thoughts or anything?
Whether you like it or whether you don't, there you go.
And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. YouTube really does notice us more when you do that. So please help us out. It really makes all the difference. And remember, we're just 2 regular dudes. Actually,
Yeah,
and
fuck
remember,
John.
we're just 3 regular dudes.
Doing pretty okay reviews.
Regular reviews.
Yeah!
It's like they're like, my God, that's really bad. Boy, I was trying not to say like right there.
Shut up, John.